Do, 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 do. There we go. It's really delayed. Okay, I think it'll be good. That's what's going out. So it's streaming. I'll go over here. Yeah, thanks for sharing that post.
Put it down somewhere.
Check, check, check.
What, we got a minute?
Minute 15.
Okay. Now we have fun. We get organized and have fun. Oh, is that not?
What is that?
That's-
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Okay, here we go. Welcome to the Peak News. I'm Chaim Goldman, the Watchman. You're listening to AM 1460 and FM 101.1, The Answer in Colorado Springs and across the entire Pikes Peak region. We are your daily view of the Pikes Peak region here at the Peak. We say the quiet stuff out loud. We seek to bring real journalism back to the media, what's supposed to be journalism, and bringing it to the local level. This is where we live. This is where we make all of our decisions, where we raise our families, where we have our businesses. This is where we need the good intel. This is where we need the information. And in looking across the media landscape of the past decades, really, but especially the past few years, we've seen the collapse of what's called the mainstream media. There's no trust in it anymore. And when the truth tellers, those who are supposed to be truth tellers in society, are not trusted by the people they're supposed to be serving, we're in a mess. We really are. And it's not like we can just go on and go, you know what? I don't need information anymore. I don't need to know what the truth is. I don't need good data anymore. I'm just going to live my life that way. No, we have to have this in society. It's one of the institutions that we need. But for many reasons, it got taken over, bought and paid for, compromised, sold out to special interest, whether they be personal, money, ideological, or whatever. And that's not to be. And so we're looking to take the media back here in our region. And who knows, it might go out from here as those who work with us as citizen journalists and interns head out to the highways and byways. We might just take media back across our entire nation. Wouldn't that be wonderful? But we're starting here first. So for everything The Peak, to learn about us, to get involved with us, go to thepeak.news. That's our website. And we want to invite you especially to be a citizen journalist. Those are those who work here, volunteer here in order to help us tell stories. And we have our first official citizen journalist certification course that's coming up starting this Monday, March 3rd. It's going to be Monday evenings, 4 sessions, Monday evenings throughout March. And to get more information on that and sign up, because we're running out and it's going to be a relatively small class to work with, to learn these things, and then certify you to be a citizen journalist for The Peak in this region, go to thepeak.news and to our citizen journalist page. If you want to watch us, it's radio on video. We do stream on Facebook at The Peak News Media and on YouTube at The Peak News, so you can check us out there. We are streaming today, and all of those internet dropping issues and other kinds of streaming thing, it seems like we're solving them with some better tech. So thank you to Matt for putting that together today. And a shout out before we tell you about today's program and our guest is to Springs Dentist, our platinum sponsor, Springs Dentist and Dr. Craig Summer, Holistic Dentistry in Colorado Springs. They're our family dentist. And a shout out to all of our sponsors. Please listen to the commercials. Don't zone them out. Listen to them. You can go on our website, hot links to all of our sponsors, and patronize them and thank them for supporting The Peak. So today, Tuesday, is always Government and Politics Tuesday, and we have as our guest for the hour and co-host, Executive Director of the Colorado State Shooting Association, Huey Laugesen, and we're going to be talking over the course of the hour about Second Amendment issues in Colorado, and is the Second Amendment really under threat here in the state? So Huey Laugesen, thanks so much for being on The Peak.
Thanks for having me, Haim. I'm glad to be here.
It's great to have you here. I know there's so much going on, especially during the legislative session, and you're going to try to condense it down for us and help us to understand the issues as well as what we can do about it. Sometimes it feels pretty hopeless with what's going on under the Gold Dome. It seems like there's a pretty radical agenda going on here in the state, and maybe you can explain what is not to be infringed, or that word means, because it seems like we infringe on things that are not to be infringed. So what else are we doing on the program today? Well, in our headline segment, we have a special legislative update with Colorado House Rep Ken DeGraff. He's going to be calling in. He is, nonstop up there along with all the other reps during this legislative session that we're only about 6 weeks into the 4-month session. And so he's going to be telling us about that, including some Second Amendment bills, but also other bills that he thinks we need to know about. Huey Laugesen is going to be talking about Senate Bill 3, specifically the semi-auto ban and owner registry bill. And then we're going to be discussing some of the other bills that are seemingly threatening our Second Amendment rights here in Colorado. Well, I'm Chaim Goldman, the Watchman. You're here on Government and Politics Tuesday. Are you a gun owner? Do you care about owning guns? Do you not like guns? Do you think that we should actually have more restrictions on them? Well, we're supposed to have good debates about things, and hopefully we still can here in Colorado and around our nation. I'm Chaim Goldman, the Watchman. You're listening to The Peak, and we'll be right back. Okay. Cool. I thought I changed that on the bottom there. Okay, we are on page 2. And I need James to call Ken. So we can have, sometimes it's hard to have banter when someone's on the phone because there's a delay and they can't pick up on it. But potentially if he says something that you want to comment on, just feel free to come in.
Cool.
Just as a heads up,
Yes.
the audio now being routed through the stream is always hot on your mics. So I just want to let you know, whether you're in break or not. That way you can address the stream and the viewers in there.
Right. I mean, it was always.
It
right?
was. I just want to let
but
you know,
it's
with
better.
the changes, it still is always.
Right. Okay.
So, yeah.
So they just heard you say that.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yep, exactly.
You know Ken? Ken McGraw?
I have met him, I think, once or twice.
He and Scott Bottoms are really two friends who are real fighters up there. There's others, but
Yeah.
those two are and they also do town halls and things, so they're out a lot talking and communicating and being more involved than most and staying with the public during it. So
Yeah.
they work a lot. Ken's a pilot, and he basically stops for 4 months, and Scott's a pastor, and he basically, other than Sundays, he stops for 4 months to do this. So good guys.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
it's hard what they're doing up there. They keep trying to shut them up. Okay. So we're good. We're good. Okay. This is cool. I get to see the camera feed. See what it looks like. No, I don't. Can I see if people are on our feed? Just everything's backwards. Okay. Is your dad healthy? I know he was dealing with some stuff.
Yeah, he's been doing a lot
Okay.
better for the most part. Recently, he
Okay.
definitely did
Okay.
struggle for a little while
I
there.
want to get him back on here, but
I'll
he-
let him know.
yeah, well, I write him and he answers, then I write him back and he disappears for 2 months.
Yeah.
I think, okay, we're gonna engage again. But he was one of the first guests. I think he was our first media guest
Oh wow.
on I think it was our first week
Cool.
that we had the show. But I want to get him back on.
I'll try
Yeah,
my best
let
to
him
help
know
you
I
out
s-
with that.
Did he know you
Yeah,
were
yeah.
going to be on today? Yeah.
I'm not sure if I told him
Okay.
that I was, but I'll definitely be sending him the recording.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, we are back in about 10 seconds. Welcome back to the Peak News. I'm Chaim Goldman, the Watchman. You're listening to AM 1460 and FM 101.1. The Answer, and this is Government and Politics Tuesday, and we have with us as our guest and co-host for the hour, Huey Laugesen, Executive Director of the Colorado State Shooting Association. And basically our whole show today is about the Second Amendment, a Second Amendment update for Colorado. So Huey, thanks so much for being on the Peak once again.
Of course, thank you for having me.
Now, this is generally our headline segment, but we're suspending that because we have a legislative update from Ken DeGraff, who is the Colorado House rep for HD 22. But before we bring Ken on, I want to let you know, as the city council elections are on their way, the ballots get sent out on March 7th for the 6 districts in Colorado Springs, that Church for All Nations, CFAN, which is great, has great candidate forums every election cycle. They're having a city council candidate forum this Thursday, February 27th, from 6:30 to 8:30 at CFAN North Campus, the main campus. And they're going to have most of the city council candidates have agreed to be there, and they're going to be asking them great questions. For more information, go to cultureimpact.us/upcoming. cultureimpact.us. Again, this Thursday, February 27th, City Council, Colorado Springs City Council Candidate Forum at CFAN starting at 6:30. Hope to see you there. Well, let's bring on Ken DeGraff on the line. You there, Ken? Hi, Ken. Doing very well. Ken DeGraff is the Colorado House rep from House District 22 here in the Springs. He's in his second term and third legislative session. We're about 6 weeks into the 4-month legislative session up under the Gold Dome. Ken, overall, how is it going? Oh, you cut out? Oh, you're back. Oh, Ken. Okay, other than Second Amendment, we're going to be covering that a bunch with Huey here on the program. What else have you been working on, dealing with? Are there any bills that you specifically are looking to get through? Really? Over 20%. Wow. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That sounds a little free market. Right? Right, that sounds very free market of you there, letting businesses run. So we have just a couple minutes left. At the beginning of the session, there was a lot of talk about bipartisanship, working together and things. This is your third legislative session. Have you seen things get any better or worse, or is it the same that you were dealing with last time around as far as trying to work with the other side of the aisle? Okay. Hey, we have 30 seconds left. Tell people how important it is for them to be involved in the system, testifying and such, for you as a rep. Okay, Ken DeGraff from House District 22. Thanks so much for giving us this legislative update. Now get back to work, bud. Thanks, Ken. We are here on the Peak. We are discussing the Second Amendment. When we come back, Huey Laugesen, Executive Director of the Colorado State Shooting Association, is going to be talking about Senate Bill 3, semi-automatic ban. Cool. Okay, now you're on.
Awesome.
Okay, so this is a 3.5-minute break. If you want to make any more notes or bullet points or anything, remember, I'm going to give you the time cues. If you come up short, I'll ask a follow-up, but try to fill the time.
Cool. So
there.
This is the commentary section?
This is segment 3, the commentary on Senate Bill 3.
Awesome.
So hit your points, judge yourself, get through it, figure out your story.
Cool. You said
As you
3.5
go.
minutes or 4
Well,
minutes?
we had 3.5. This break is 3.5 minutes. You'll have about 4 minutes.
Okay.
To present after I do the intro. Okay. That was good. I like these. I like the call-ins when they're short.
Yeah, I did a call-in on Crosswalk last week. This is my first time in the studio doing a radio show, though. So
Yeah, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
But
welcome to it.
call-in
It's
was,
a
it was a good experience. So.
it's a good format.
Yeah.
It's you control it, right? It's not a reporter deciding what gets into the paper.
Yeah.
And also we have a lot more time than TV, so it's local radio is really good. It's very powerful.
Yeah.
So
I definitely agree. And,
I've enjoyed it.
Our team tends to control it.
What?
Our team tends to
Well,
dominate. the space a lot.
only on the conservative talk side it is. But it should, hopefully we can just become neutral and give news and not be on anybody's side is the goal.
Yeah.
That we're just giving good information to people. But yeah, I mean, it's this medium tends to be conservative because the mainstream media was taken over more by liberals, and so but we shouldn't have partisan media. It's like it shouldn't even exist. Conservative radio shouldn't exist. Shouldn't have to. You know, shouldn't have to. It should just be journalists doing their job.
Yeah. Right.
And staying out of the story. We're not the story.
Yeah.
So, but that's an onion that's going to take quite a while to peel back. So unfortunately, we got to play to what is and try to move the needle.
Well, you got to wonder if it's, if that's even a possible, like something that could actually happen.
Yeah.
Totally
Right.
non-biased media.
Well, it's not so much that there's not a bias because human beings naturally have a bias. It's that what the bias is.
Yeah.
That you're either being presented with some level of neutrality or you understand this is who this person is. They're commenting with a level of bias, just like we do with every human being. I mean, every relationship, we know the person we're getting the information from. It's when people try to claim that you're getting neutral information when you're not.
Right. Of course.
Welcome back to the Peak News. I'm Chaim Goldman, the Watchman. You're listening to AM 1460 and FM 101.1. The answer, and no, the job of media, as you probably know, isn't to lie to you. We're not supposed to be lying to you. We're supposed to be giving you good information. But real journalism is hard to find, and we're seeking to bring it back here. And part of that is through training in citizen journalism. And we have citizen journalists who help us tell the stories. And we're doing our first certification citizen journalist training course starting this Monday evening, March 3rd. For more information, go to thepeak.news/citizen journalists. And there's more information there. There's an application. We have a limited class size. And when you go through the class, you will be certified to be and credentialed to be a citizen journalist with the Peak, which we think is really cool. So check that out if you love to tell stories. And again, the class is starting in less than a week. So do it now. So this is Government and Politics Tuesday. Our guest is Huey Laugesen, Executive Director of the Colorado State Shooting Association. And in this segment, Huey is talking about Senate Bill 3, the semi-auto ban and gun owner registry bill. Huey Laugesen.
Thanks, Chaim. I appreciate you giving me this opportunity to speak on such an important topic. As Rep. Ken DeGraff was just talking about, there are a lot of anti-gun bills working their way through the legislature right now. I want to focus particularly on Senate Bill 3 in this segment, though, and we can touch more on the other bills a little later. But Senate Bill 3 is a really, really bad bill, so I think it deserves some special attention. As you and many of your listeners probably know, the Colorado State Senate passed it last week. We call this the Semi-Automatic Firearm Ban and Gun Owner Registry. If signed into law, it will severely restrict access to any semi-automatic firearm that accepts a detachable magazine and uses a gas system to cycle the action. Many gun enthusiasts will know exactly what that means, but for those who don't, I'll just state the fact that it constitutes an extremely broad category of firearms that are in common use by law-abiding Coloradans every single day. What do I mean when I say that the bill will restrict access to these arms? I mean, it would have originally banned outright their manufacture, sale, and transfer between owners in Colorado. It has since been amended, however, to implement a new licensing scheme by which a prospective buyer can obtain permission from the state to purchase the firearms that this bill wants to restrict. What does that licensing scheme look like? It would require an individual to go to their local sheriff's office, pay a fee, and have their fingerprints submitted for a criminal background check. After that, the sheriff will issue them an eligibility ID card that allows them to take multiple mandatory gun safety courses. The sheriff then will be required to submit the ID card the ID card's information to a state registry. So that is a gun owner registry. And it's important to note here that that is almost always an early step that governments take in the process of confiscating arms, which is a really bad thing, of course. Even the Bloomberg-funded Brady campaign has admitted themselves that that is the first step in confiscation. Another problem with this licensing scheme is that it will effectively result in a ban on firearm ownership among poor people and minorities who are much more likely to be victimized by criminals and don't have sufficient funds and the ability to take the necessary time off of work to jump through all of the hoops to get licensed. Meanwhile, wealthy elites like Governor Polis, who has a net worth of around $400 million, will have no problem getting through the process. This is basically a novel take on the Second Amendment that inaccurately asserts that the right of the wealthy to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. That is not what the Second Amendment says. And that's why the Colorado State Shooting Association will continue fighting this bill with everything we've got in the legislature, the governor's office, and if necessary, the courts.
So this seems that it would definitely be something that if it gets to the Supreme Court would be thrown out. But why do legislators go through these steps in order to do things that they know are going to be struck down?
Well, they know that it will remain in place while we have to spend tons of money and tons of time to get it to the Supreme Court or to get it to whatever, however high we need to for it to be struck down.
Okay, you're listening to The Peak. We have Huey Laugesen, Executive Director of the Colorado State Shooting Association. When we come back, we're going to be talking about even more bills that are being proposed in the legislature. We'll be right back. Cool. Okay, awesome. This is a 2-minute break, and then we're back with segment 4. And that's the one where we have the more long format questions, and you can fill that in. Okay.
Awesome.
How are things going?
Good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's funny because I rehearsed this whole thing, and it was under time. Then I get going here, and
yeah, when you're actually presenting and you have to slow down and add inflection and do it dramatically, it always takes more.
Yeah, but that's good. It's better to have more content.
Yeah, it is. As long as you can edit on the fly, it's just easier to edit bullet points than paragraphs.
Yeah,
it's hard to know with paragraphs what to do.
Yeah.
So mostly, I mean, you did it. I couldn't tell you were reading, so that was good. Like some people, you can really tell they're reading. But overall, bullet point, like when you know the content, just scribbling down some bullet points, you can go A to B, B to C, C to D, and you don't feel you have to get through a certain amount of content. You just need to make sure you hit your points.
Yeah. Right.
Radio is really it's short. You gotta get in and get out.
Yeah.
Unless it's like a long format, just rambling talk show. But most programs, it's just there's no time for heading off in any kind of tangent. You just gotta get to the point, get to the next one.
Yeah. Well, I definitely made all the points.
Yeah. It was great.
So.
It was good.
Yeah. That's great.
But it's harder to edit on the fly when you have paragraphs, and people always end up finding out that the time goes by quicker than they expected.
Yeah, it does. It definitely does.
Yeah. You learn over time. I mean, I have sort of an inherent clock in me now from doing it day after day after day, but it takes a long time.
Yeah. So are you even looking at the clock when you're giving me the signals?
Yeah. I have a I have a timer.
Yeah. Cool.
Welcome back to the Peak News. I'm Chaim Goldman, the Watchman. You're here listening to the Peak on AM 1460 and FM 101.1, The Answer on Government and Politics Tuesday. And we are tackling the Second Amendment. Are our rights being infringed, right? Just shall not be infringed. It interests me so much how we take that and then just infringe it. And, should we be allowed to own machine guns or cannons or, nuclear weapons? It's an interesting thing. What did the founders mean by shall not be infringed? Are there any restrictions? But when we start getting into situations where your average semi-automatic, 9mm concealed carry gun that 99% of the citizens, if they're gun owners, that's what they're carrying. This is where it really gets scary, because what is it that we are allowed to carry, and what is going to guarantee our safety if it's not in our hands as citizens? Obviously, we know that law enforcement can never be there as quickly as your average citizen. And so this is a tough issue, because we also have been the state of mass shootings. And how do we balance that? Well, that's why we have a body politic. That's why we're supposed to, vote in elections, and that's why we're supposed to have dialogue. But as you heard from Ken DeGraff, if you were listening in the second segment today, there's not a lot of that cooperation going on. It seems that there is still the dominant force here is the Democrats, and they are pushing an agenda which is, for the most part, anti-Second Amendment. So here on The Peak, we say the quiet stuff out loud, and we want you to join us doing that by joining our Citizen Journalist Training course coming up on March 3rd, where you will be certified to be a Peak Citizen Journalist. Go on thepeak.news and check out our Citizen Journalist link. And before we get back into the program with our guest, a shout out to one of our gold sponsors. Take the drama out of your home buying and selling experience while saving money too. John Graham with Keller Williams Partners and your local Heroes Home Advantage affiliate, John Graham Homes. Well, our guest and co-host for the hour is Huey Laugesen, Executive Director of the Colorado State Shooting Association. And Huey, first question to get your background. What's brought you that your professional focus is defending the Second Amendment here in Colorado and nationwide?
Thanks, Haim. Well, I grew up in a very politically involved family. My dad is the editorial. What's that?
Yeah, I know your dad.
Yeah. My dad is the editorial page editor at the Colorado Springs Gazette, and that is a very, they obviously insert themselves in all kinds of political conversations and such. My mom has done a lot of work defending persecuted Christians around the globe. And so I sort of come into this whole political world naturally. And I've always been brought up to believe in the Constitution and the ideals that this nation was founded on. One important piece of that is the fact that we have a Bill of Rights with rights that the government is prohibited from infringing on, that we have, and the one right that guarantees that all of those rights remain in place is the Second Amendment right to keep and bear arms. And it's not always the government who could infringe upon those rights. Your right to life, liberty, property, those things can all be infringed upon by the government. They could be infringed upon by criminals. They could be. So it's important to have the means and the tools necessary to defend yourself from all these various threats that could threaten your rights that are protected in the Bill of Rights in our nation's Constitution.
And how did you come to this position of Executive Director of the Colorado Shooting Association?
Well, I started working with the Colorado State Shooting Association in 2021, helping them write content for their emails and that sort of stuff. And I just really poured myself into it. In December of 2023, there was a vacancy for the executive director, and I was asked to step up and serve in the role, and I was honored and definitely willing to take that on.
And so what do you do? What is your general role?
Well, I am responsible for running the organization's operations, which are all geared towards defending the Second Amendment in Colorado and promoting safe and responsible use of firearms in Colorado. So that a lot of those operations, they require money. So I also am responsible for spearheading all of our fundraising. That is, that goes pretty well when our rights are under so much attack, because everybody, wants to contribute to the fight against it. It's unfortunate, however, that's what it takes for us to be successful, and it's it's a lot of work.
So talk about, is the Second Amendment under threat, and how are these bills that are going through? We have this 4-month session up under the Gold Dome, as Ken DeGraff said, Representative DeGraff said, there these bills are coming fast and furious. So what are some of the bills that really underscore that there is a threat to the Second Amendment rights here in our state?
There's absolutely a threat to our Second Amendment rights here in Colorado. Senate Bill 3 that we just talked about would ban majority of the most common firearms used for self-defense, home defense, and sport shooting. And that passed the Senate, so that's its chamber of origin. It passed, and it will now go to the House of Representatives, which is even more liberal, even more anti-gun. So that is a major threat to the Second Amendment that could be a reality soon if we don't fight back hard enough. House Bill 1133 is another bill that Ken DeGraff touched on, and it would ban sale of any kind of ammunition to any person under the age of 21, even if they are over the age of 18 and a legal adult who can vote in this country and carry guns in war and fight our enemies on our behalf. They can't buy ammo here in Colorado under House Bill 1133. Which would also ban ammunition displays in gun stores. And that could be very burdensome for a lot of business owners in the firearms industry. We've also got House Bill 1238, which could cripple gun shows. It would require any table vendor at a gun show to have a valid FFL, federal firearms license, and a state permit to sell firearms, even if that table vendor does not sell firearms, such as the Colorado State Shooting Association. We set up tables at these gun shows, and we sell memberships. We educate the public on the Second Amendment issue in Colorado. We're not selling firearms there, but now if we want to do that, we'll have to have a license to sell firearms on both the federal and state level. There's also Senate Bill 34. That one is a voluntary do not sell firearms waiver that somebody can fill out to render themselves a prohibited person who is not legally allowed to purchase firearms. A major problem with that bill is that it's very easy to get yourself onto this list of prohibited persons. It's not so easy to get yourself off if you end up regretting that decision, because the government isn't known for giving freedoms back once they have taken them away, even if they were given up voluntarily.
You referred to this as a self-read flag law. You can flag yourself if you're having a bad day.
That's right.
Okay, moving along, what can we as citizens do to push back against this so our rights are not infringed?
There are a number of things you can do. It's very important that our public officials hear from us and hear that we are opposed to this anti-gun agenda, and we value our Second Amendment rights, and we want to keep them, and we are willing to fight for them. So you can call your senator, you can call your House representative. It doesn't even have to be your senator or House representative. Call all of them. Call Governor Polis. Email all of these people and advocate for your Second Amendment rights. Let them know you are willing to fight for them. You can also testify against anti-gun bills when they are up for committee hearings in the legislature. And you can go to the legislature's website. You can type in any of the bill numbers. It'll tell you when it is scheduled for a committee hearing, if there is a committee hearing for that bill on the calendar. And there's a link on the website for you to sign up and testify either in person or remotely via Zoom. So if you can't make it all the way to the Capitol, you can still testify over Zoom. Please do that. Okay, so just like everything else, be an engaged citizen. If this is something that's important to you, you got to invest the time. You got to take it out of your free time or somewhere, or else someone else is running our state. Finally, tell us about the Colorado State Shooting Association. What are your programs? How can people get involved? Absolutely. So the Colorado State Shooting Association is the official state association of the NRA in Colorado. We carry out the mission of the NRA on the state level.
National Rifle Association.
That's right. On the state level, focused exclusively on Colorado. That involves defending the Second Amendment and promoting safe and responsible use of firearms. We employ a number of tactics, including campaigning heavily against anti-gun bills and specifically in vulnerable Democrat-held districts. So these are votes that could potentially be flipped for political reasons. We campaign among pro-gun voters against these anti-gun bills in those districts, and we do lawsuits and all of that.
And how can people get involved with you?
You can go to cssa.org, and I would encourage anybody who wants to get involved with us to do that. Become a member of our organization for $5 per month, $50 per year, or $140 for 3 years. You can also make a donation and sign up for our email list, where we will keep you updated on the status of every anti-gun bill and when the opportunity to testify against them might come up.
Okay, well, the website again is cssa.org, cssa.org, for the Colorado State Shooting Association. There we go. We have Huey Laugesen, their executive director. When we come back, we're going to be taking a tangent to this and talking about, is Colorado soft on crime? We'll be right back. Cool. Excellent.
Very good.
So I got to find out.
See, that's so crazy. I cannot believe that was 12 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
220.
220, and what's it on?
Shall not be infringed.
Oh, that's right. So we're doing Second Amendment today. Okay. Thank you. Okay, on this one, let's see, 220, 510. So on this one, I have to throw to a pre-record, so there's no music. So toward the end, when you see me wrap it up, we gotta wrap it up. So, is Colorado soft on crime? What can be done to fix these policies? And in the meantime, how can we protect ourselves from being victims? Okay. So we'll have about a minute or minute and a half for each answer. Cool. I'm tired today. I also put out a voter guide, so it's a very busy time.
Voter guide for
Church voter guides
Oh,
that
gotcha.
we put out for each election.
Okay.
Survey the candidates and publish their answers.
Cool.
So,
Nice.
yeah. So we're in the survey stage now, and it comes out a week from Sunday. So that's on top of everything else. Busy time of year.
Absolutely. So you're surveying a bunch of local candidates?
Well, all the city council,
Yeah.
you know, all the district candidates. Yeah,
Excellent. Very good.
yeah, we send them.
I wonder how many of the liberals and such actually, or the ones that are definitely not Christians, actually answer those questions.
They do, especially in the nonpartisan election. In the partisan elections, we've had a lot, like with Democrats boycott.
Yeah.
And not, which is ridiculous because we actually publish exactly what they send us. So we're not going to change your answers. So, like, do you not want people to know your answers? Like, why? You know, I understand if you think we're going to twist them, but we have no way of doing that. We publish typos. We don't change their answers at all.
Gotcha.
So, but in this election where it's nonpartisan and they know they're running up against people that are going to answer, we get more participation.
Awesome.
Welcome back to the Peak News. I'm Chaim Goldman, the Watchman. You're listening to AM 1460 and FM 101.1. The Answer on Government and Politics Tuesday, as we're tackling Second Amendment legislation and issues over the course of the hour with Huey Laugesen, Executive Director of the Colorado State Shooting Association. And we have coming up after Huey, Jim Miller, just a guy, and the Peak Rants. And Jim is ranting on shall not be infringed, which is, yes, that's very frustrating when things are infringed, that shall not be infringed. But let's go to something that, you know, the reason that people want to carry guns, other than hunting. But if we want to carry it for personal protection, it's because we're worried about crime, about protecting ourselves, our families, others, just other citizens. I don't know that those who are legislating against it understand that. But when we combine gun restrictions with soft on crime policies, it really sets up a very dangerous situation for the citizenry. So just a straight out question to you from what we're seeing. Do you believe that Colorado is a state that's soft on crime?
Yes, Colorado tends to be very soft on crime. Our politicians have a habit of coddling criminals and going hard on law-abiding citizens. On the other hand, when they try to limit our access to firearms and such. Examples of the soft on crime part of that are we recently decriminalized all illicit drugs, including fentanyl. And it is many times the lethal dose of fentanyl that you can get caught with, and it's not a criminal. It's not a criminal infringement offense. Yeah. And then we also recently reduced sentences for murderers a few years back. So those are just a couple of examples
with
of that.
no death penalty now in the state. Yeah.
No death penalty, and this was actually after there was no death penalty. We reduced the number of years that they would have to spend in prison, and made it more difficult to convict people of first-degree murder who are obviously guilty of first-degree murder. So,
and then obviously the whole sanctuary city or sanctuary state status. So,
yeah.
So this combination of criminals not being held accountable and disarming the citizens, obviously, it's like, could we pick one? Like, I mean, we shouldn't pick either, right? We should be hard on criminals and give full rights to our citizenry. But what do you think we can do to stop these soft on crime policies?
Well, there's a lot that could be done. There is some that is getting done. I think it was there was a ballot measure that was on the November ballot, and it did pass, I believe, that increased the penalty or increased sentencing for violent offenders, first-degree murderers, people who have committed sexual assault, kidnapping, so that they have to serve at least 80% of their prison sentence before they can be let out on the streets. Before that, they were serving far less than that on average. And a subsequent offense, somebody who's offended multiple times, will have to serve 100%.
So in the meantime, while we're, hopefully getting better crime policies, but we'll see during this legislative session, how can we keep, you're a gun advocate, obviously, how can we keep ourselves and our families safe?
Yeah, get armed and train with those firearms. You want to be not only armed, but you want to know what you are doing with your firearms, and you want to be competent and ready should you have to, God forbid, discharge a firearm if you find yourself to be the victim of a crime. So, as you said earlier, Haim, the cops are always minutes away when seconds count. That's the saying. So
we have about 30 seconds left. There's a radical shift because on July 1st, there's going to be much more. It's going to be harder to get a concealed carry permit. Comment to that.
Yeah. So they did make it more difficult to get a concealed carry permit. They extended the amount of time that you have to spend training, and require you to live fire in the range as part of that training. So that does increase the cost of it as well, because you have to cover the cost of that ammunition, and it is more burdensome. You have to take the time off work to go and do that.
So that kicks in on July 1st. You can check into it. So if you're thinking about having concealed carry, it's going to be easier if you apply now. Well, Huey Laugesen, Executive Director of the Colorado State Shooting Association, thanks so much for being on the Peak.
Absolutely, Haim. Thank you for having me.
And now Jim Miller and the Peak Rants. Okay, you're done.
Excellent. Thanks.
Absolutely. Thank you. I'm here. Welcome to stick around, but you don't have any more content on the show. Okay. If you want through the association, because we're citizen journalists here, if you do any kind of podcast, or is anybody there produce audio content?
For Colorado State
Yeah.
Association? No, not right now. A guy on our board board wants to start a podcast.
Okay.
For us, and we've encouraged him to do that, but it's kind of an exploratory.
Okay,
thing.
because we could do what we're looking for from average citizens or organizations is to do regular segments on the program to provide content, to do updates. So if you wanted to do something like monthly, we could, because those 4.5 minute content segments that you did, they're supposed to be outside reports. So we have the guests fill them now, but really where we're heading is that they're going to be filled by news segments that we do as roll-ins or live reads or whatever. So if that's something that you'd like to do, we could have you do a monthly update. You could plug the organization and give us good content for education. So let us know.
Yeah.
And Zach has the information about that. And we're putting that together.
Excellent.
And we're looking for sponsors. So if your organization or other business owners that understand that what we're doing in the media, especially since you grew up in that and understand how important it is, we're supported all by local businesses. So we're looking for those who want to do that. So that actually that package that I gave you there, that bound package has information about that. So when you tell people about the show and they're local business owners, we're looking for them to support what we're doing too. So, because, during COVID, businesses weren't very well represented by the media.
Yeah.
And so they're going to want a media that's going to speak out constitutionally and, what's going on and speak out for the local businesses, not just the big guys. So
Awesome.
cool.
Yeah.
Well, so thank you.
Well, of course, I'll keep all that in mind. I appreciate you having me on.
Yep, absolutely. Zach. Oh. Hey, Zach. Is he still there? There you go.
Hey, Zach.
Hey, Huey's going. Thanks for joining us for another Government Politics Tuesday on The Peak. So happy to have you engaged with us and would ask you to do more if storytelling is your thing. Or if you just want to be a fan, tell others about us. We really, really want to be the hyper-local news source here in Colorado Springs, and we do that. We say the quiet stuff out loud. We say it even louder with your help. So we have, as we've mentioned, the Citizen Journalist training course that's coming up starting on March 3rd. It's going to be 4 Monday evenings in March from 6 to 8 p.m. here in the Springs, and you will be certified to be a citizen journalist. Also, as I am the director of church voter guides, and we are working to put out a voter guide for the upcoming city council elections here in Colorado Springs, we could use your help. That's another place of engagement. If politics is more your thing, although this is a journalistic exercise also, as we survey the candidates and publish their exact answers, we are looking for those who can help us to reach out to more churches so that they know about us and can tell their members about the guide. And go to churchvoterguides.org, churchvoterguides.org. Go under the My County area, fill that out, and let us know that you're interested in working with us to help to produce and distribute the guides in our area. We are on 3 to 4 p.m. here on The Answer, Monday through Thursday. Tomorrow is Faith and Family Wednesday. We have an old friend on, retired Congressman Bill Redmond, former pastor, and he's trained for decades people how to run for office. And we're going to be talking about how elections, especially the last one, impact both our faith and our families. And then on Media and Education Thursday, we have Peak News investigative journalist Jordan Baldwin back with us, giving a major update on the Mayor Yemi hate crime hoax story. Yes, I haven't talked about it too much in a while, but we have a lot to share, plus other investigations Jordan is working on for the Peak. Coming up next here on AM 1460 is the Larry Elder Show, so stick around for that, and check out our Pushing 200 podcast at thepeak.news. The Peak, we say the quiet stuff out loud for such a time as this. Shalom.
Hello.